Hey, beautiful. My name is Maisha Hagan. I'm the owner and head coach at Beauty and the Boss, a professional development and career coaching service for women in male dominated industries. And I'm super excited to come to you with this reaction video series. Now, you've seen reaction videos to singers, you've seen reaction videos to puppies, you've seen reaction videos to people falling. But I bet you've never seen a reaction video to people talking about the employee review process. Well, now you have. Now, full disclosure, I have a love hate relationship with employee reviews because at the end of the day, this is your career we're talking about. Those little ratings that they put on a sheet of paper or those comments, those relate to dollars, relates to promotion, it relates to opportunities. And that should not be left solely in the hand of your manager or in the hand of your employer. You have some ownership in that. If you're in an organization that does have a formal employee review process, I want you to know that there are ways that you can, let's use the word, hack that system, right? And when I work with people, when I work with clients, one of my favorite things to do is to help people use those meetings to really shine, okay? To shine like the glorious queen that you are. The first video that I'm going to react to is by author David Burkus. I am a fan of Dave. I like his work. One of his books is titled Friend of a Friend, and I base a lot of my networking training on that. I'm super curious what he has to say. Full disclosure, I have not watched this video, so the reaction that you are seeing is my real reaction. I asked for a lot of grace here because I've never done this before, and I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Hey, friends, Dave Burkus here. Welcome back to the Daily Burk. Today, we are talking about how to give an effective performance review session. Now, if you know my work, you know that I'm actually not a big fan of the annual review, that crazy ritual where we all
I
play a little
told
game
you.
and fill out the right forms. I've dedicated an entire chapter in Under New Management to companies that have abandoned the performance appraisal and the reason why you would want to do so. But in particular, I want to highlight here there's a lot of people that don't have that say. There's a lot of people who are given the normal routine. They're given the forms to fill out by HR or by senior management.
I appreciate so right off the bat, what I appreciate him acknowledging is this thing about like forms and ratings and how some many times this is a process. It is an HR process and it's a very important process, but there is such a huge disconnect between its intent and its actual outcome. And I also really appreciate him addressing the fact that not everybody works for innovative or cool companies that are like we're going to throw this away and come up with something better, right? And so again, if you're in a company that you have to just kind of conform into their process, there's still hope for you. And what I'm actually hoping is that he gives us some insights into either how managers will do and lead the employee review or how the employee can show up. So let's see.
And they want to know, okay, I have to do this activity. How can I use it towards the most performance improvement? How can I actually be effective at it? And this is where I love what the company Adobe had done with abandoning performance reviews and replacing it with a system of coaching. Specifically, I love the three things that they broke down in their coaching sessions. And what I love about it is that it can lay on top of an existing performance evaluation system. So
This
whatever
camera
the
is
system
weird.
that your company requires you to use is, and if you don't have one, just adopt this. It's this. Whenever you sit down to have a performance coaching conversation with your people, the people that you are entrusted to care for.
Okay, so just a little clarity. He is speaking to managers who are leading the employee review process. So if you are a manager and you are managing people and you are responsible for their employee review, I really want your ears to perk up because I trust David. I trust David. And I think he's going to give us something that is going, I like what he said, it can layer on top of the employee review process. So we don't even need to make it our mission to build something new, right? As a manager, you can make it your mission to shine and do very well as an individual and in assessing your team members. If you are not a manager, right? And you're like, well, what about me? I'm the person actually sitting on the other side of the table. I want you to be listening for opportunities to move the conversation, whatever it is, however that process works, to move the conversation in a positive direction. And I'm so confident that he's going to give us those three pillars that will make the meeting much more meaningful for you as an employee. All right, let's go.
And watch and manage. Whenever you have that situation, you want to talk about three things specifically:
Here we go.
expectations, feedback, and growth and development. Expectations, feedback, growth, and
Okay.
development. Now, the expectations are what were our objectives? What were the things that we expected to accomplish this, hopefully more than a year? So, like quarter or month or every couple of weeks? What were the
Let's stop there. Okay. For sure, if you are in a company that does an employee review once a year, it's tough, right? We got a whole different strategy for that. Ideally, we should be shortening the time of feedback between manager and employee, whether it's positive or negative, whether the feedback is good job or whether the feedback is you blew it and we need to make a corrective action. The time between when those conversations happen need to be short. Realistically, not everyone has the opportunity to do a check in, a deep review with their team members on a monthly basis, right? A lot of times, maybe your team meetings or your one on ones are about workload, but again, we're looking at a best practice. The best practice is that you should be trying to do those informally on a monthly basis, right? Formally, quarterly. I'm even okay with 3 times a year, right? So we have a what are we gonna do? How are we doing? How did we do type of organization. But if you're only doing this, if you're only meeting with your manager to discuss a review one time a year, then it's really, really important that you keep track of these things yourself, right? So this first thing that he's talking about is expectations. It's if there are goals that are set, let's say January 1, 2021, there are goals that are set. All throughout 2021, you need to be documenting and keeping track of your progress against those goals. Do not leave that on your manager. Um, because there's something called recency bias, which means that the most recent thing is the thing that they remember, right? So that's just something I want to say. I love that he brought that up because, again, he's acknowledging that not everyone has a consistent process or has a process that embeds frequency. That said, we still got to do what we got to do. Okay, let's go.
quarter or month or every couple of weeks? What were the things that we expected of you? What did you get done? What did you not get done? And then feedback. Feedback is actually a two-way street. Feedback is here is my feedback for you when I observed your behavior on how you could maybe improve in delivering on those expectations. But it's also feedback on did I, as your manager, as the person
Yes.
entrusted to make sure you have what you need to do your best work,
Yes. Okay. Getting feedback. That feedback from your manager is pivotal and key, right? And also that feedback from you, my friend, have a voice in this meeting. And so being able to communicate, here's what worked well for me. Here is the area of training that I need, right? Here's the level of support that I need. Here's advocacy that I need from you. Really having a conversation, let's just leave it at that, where it's not the manager, blah, 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 to you, but you also being able to provide feedback to the manager as well. If you have a good manager, they'll want to hear that because they're going to want to improve because ultimately they have someone doing a review for them as well, right? So I love that. I love that. And if you are a manager, let me speak to you. If you are a manager, this is a great time for some humility, right? And to simply ask the question, what can I, as your manager, be doing to help support you better, to help you in your career goals better? And I think when we have those kind of conversations, we're dignifying and honoring each other, and we're also respecting the fact that people have their own career goals, they have their own career trajectory, and it's not always the responsibility or the business of the business to dictate what that is. The individual and the employee should have some say. All right, let's go. I'm going to back up a little.
Entrusted to make sure you have what you need to do your best work. Did I do enough for you, or what things can I improve on? And then
Yeah.
lastly, growth and development. And this is where I really want to encourage you to have a candid, non recorded conversation
Who's
about
recording these?
growth and development. I mean, put whatever you need to in the form eventually, but
Two things. I don't know who's out here recording employee reviews, but if you sit in an employee review and your manager or someone says, we're going to be recording this, I want you to say, oh, that's great. I will too. And I want you to pull up your recorder and I want you to record it as well. Also, I like what he's saying that right now we're just having a conversation and we can do whatever we need to do on the form. Don't even get me started on forms. that's a whole nother that's a whole nother game. But I like what he's saying that let's just have a conversation and then we can deal with the formalities that need to go into the system.
have an open and honest conversation. Where do you want to go? The reason I say don't write it down is that sometimes they don't want to go here. They don't want to move up in the company.
No.
They may be pivoting to something else. And you, as a manager, can still help them as an individual if you know. You can still design experiences that will help them grow. If you know specifically that they want to stay in that role, maybe in perpetuity, maybe they.
Okay, let's just pause. Now, again, he's speaking to managers. I would advise you, as your career coach, if you are sitting in your employee review and you know you want to go open a dog rescue and you work for an engineering firm, do not say, I want to open a dog rescue. Don't say that. I think it's very noble that he's like, "Oh, if you're a manager and they say they want to do something else, you can still help them." The reality is that ain't nobody checking for you. People are not people are not trying to help you go run a dog kennel. They're like she or is disconnected. They will view that as being disengaged, and it could easily come back to bite you. So David, I love you, but I disagree with you here. As the employee, you need to hold that card a little closer to the chest. He started to pivot into talking about people who are in a role and want to stay in that role. I want to hear what he has to say because I have some thoughts on that. So I'm going to back it up a little bit, and then I'll offer my comments. I think that was about here. Let's see.
Can still design experiences that will help them grow. If you know specifically that they want to stay in that role, maybe in perpetuity, maybe they have no interest in management, what have you, you can design that better. And you know that if you have to record it and then we start playing this game where every.
Okay. So he kind of skimmed over it. Here's the thing. In our society, we sometimes look down on people who don't want to grow, right? Even in my own business, I am a career coach, and very much my clientele are people who are growth minded. Why do I say that? Why do I have to call that out like that? Does it mean that someone who is content in their job and enjoys the work that they do is somehow not growth minded? No. But we have this terminology and we have this framework of thinking that really correlates with climbing the career ladder. And so wherever you are, right, whatever rung you're on, it's always how do you get to the next one? And so in our work culture, we celebrate people who want to keep climbing, and somehow we minimalize people who are consistent where they are. I transparent moment. I've been guilty of this as well. When I was a manager, I managed a team member who, I was constantly like trying to dig into her, like, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? And she was like, I'm good. Okay. I just got married, had a baby. I am fine doing this. And I felt some kind of way about that. And I was wrong. I was wrong because every individual has the right to choose the work they want to do at whatever level or capacity. That said, again, as a career coach, one of the things that I would want to assess in a strategy is what is the culture of the company and what is the relationship with your manager? Because if your manager has this framework of you got to be growth minded and everybody's got to move up, right? And you got to be striving up the ladder, then that's another card you may want to hold close to your chest. Okay. Because how it could be interpreted is that you are not ambitious and that you are not serious about your work and that you're disengaged, which could be nothing could be further from the truth. But it's just in how, in our work culture, we interpret and we perceive the things that people say. And we don't always have regard for the individual and their rights to be content. Again, I appreciate what he's saying, but I think that there's some extra consideration that we have to take as an employee before you step in it. Okay, let's go.
Everybody wants to be CEO one day, and it just doesn't work as well as a candid, unscripted. If you've got to put something, then you and the candidate both can decide on what to put. But I think it's really important to have that be undocumented. Now, I could go into a ton of research on why these three things all work, but let's focus in on the research on that growth and development piece. Progress is an incredibly powerful human motivator.
This
So the
camera's killing
idea
me.
that this conversation is one of many that are going to document your progress throughout the company or maybe towards somebody else, your progress in your career. That only happens if you can have an honest growth and development conversation. And it ends up being one of the most motivating parts of the performance improvement conversation.
I appreciate what he's saying. In best case scenario, yes, everyone is open and honest and true, but in reality, it doesn't happen like that. You know that. You know that.
For you and for them. So, three things real quick: expectations, feedback, growth, and development. Whatever system you are using, you can lay this one on top of. And if you don't have a system, I encourage you to start having frequent, ongoing, and candid conversations
Yes,
around those
please.
three areas. That is how to give an effective performance review. Thanks so much for watching the Daily Bird. Leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know.
Okay, Dave, don't be stealing my thunder here. One more thing I want to say before we wrap this up. If you are in an organization that does not have a formal process of frequency, you as the employee can still kind of, put together or organize or have for yourself a process that where you're still doing these same things informally. So whether that's on a quarterly basis, whether that's on a monthly basis, you yourself can meet with your manager and have a conversation around these three pillars, right? Around, hey, here were the goals. How here's where I think I did. How did I do? Right? Here's the feedback. Here's what I think you could do well. Here's what I think I could do well. Right? Here's some things that are coming up personally, or some concerns that I have about what's happening here in the office workload, whatever. Right? That's that feedback piece. And then again, planting those seeds looking forward, right? Over the next quarter, over the next 3 months. Hey, next year we should. Next year I'd like to. So the framework that he's saying is brilliant. It's smart. I agree with it. I utilize it. I do it. I coach people to it. What I want to leave you with is even if within your organization there's not a formal process like this, you as an employee can still do this and you should do it because it does really set um, some groundwork for when you do have that formal meeting. Thank you so much for being with me here in this first reaction. This is fun. I think we're going to have a really good time. And what I hope is that this is valuable to you. If it is, you can leave a comment below. If that's not your thing, I would love to have you join the Boss Squad, which is my email newsletter. You can find all of that and more on my website, which is at bosslady.coach. I'll see you soon and have a great day.